So I think I'm gonna do like a little wrap up of what I've read in the past like week and a half, 2 weeks. I'll probably say what I've read in the last week because I feel like that's the most like clickable, but I think in reality it's been like at least a week and a half. And originally I thought I was going to do like a week of reading Agatha Christie because I thought that could be a cool idea. But then I read like one of her novels and I read another like 75% of one of hers, and I was like, I don't really want to read any more for now, even though I do really like Agatha Christie. So this is like what I read this week, mostly Agatha Christie, and then in parentheses, and some other things. So I feel like we should start with the Agatha Christie. My history with Miss Agatha is that I used to love her books, and when I was in, I don't know, early high school, I like had this period where I would only read her, and I read probably like 13 of her novels or 12 of her novels, and I don't know why, but it was just like the only thing I was interested in reading. I think maybe because they're very like pleasing, and I feel like I like accomplished something when I read them. But anyway, I read her a lot, and I was curious, I think, to read her again because I haven't read one of her novels in quite a while now. So I was curious to read her and see if I still liked her the same amount, or to see why I liked her so much in the first place, to see if I could like parse that out. So I thought it'd be cool to read some of her books and see if I still, you know, vibe with them. I guess we can just get into it. So the first thing I read was Crooked House. And Crooked House, I think, is a pretty well-known Agatha Christie novel, even though it's not a Hercule Poirot or a Miss Marple story. But I think it's pretty well-known. And I've had it for a while and I haven't read it, so I thought I'd read it. And the thing that stood out most to me while I was reading this is that it has like an uncanny resemblance to the movie Knives Out. And I really like that movie, probably because it's so heavily based on Christie's work. But I literally could not get it out of my head. Like the plot is almost the exact same. It's like, I don't think I'm spoiling anything by saying like, it's about like a very wealthy old man who lives in like a family house and has a ton of like kids and grandkids. And then he dies mysteriously through like accidental poisoning, and everyone has like a motive. All of his kids and grandkids have a motive, and it's like the setup is very similar to Crooked House. And I kind of thought I knew where it was going, but it's different enough that like it's not like a carbon copy, it's just very similar, which is maybe like a little redundant, I don't know. But the plot, like the twist is like different. The twist is not the same, so it's still like interesting, and if you've watched Knives Out, it's still like an interesting read. But it was good. It was kind of giving like they were like, Agatha, like, you haven't had a bestseller in a hot second now, like, rent is due, you need to write something. And she was like, okay. And by that, I only mean that I would say, based on the other Agatha Christie books I've read, it's like maybe a bit more on the uninspired side. It's just like, I don't know, maybe because I've watched Knives Out, I just like think that because I feel like I've seen these like things like play out in another setting. But it was still good. I would give it like a 7 out of 10. I don't know. I think the ending was like very twisty, and like I did not expect it to do what it did. So that is cool. But otherwise, it's just giving a bit like she was maybe like phoning it in a bit, you know? Which is okay. Like I feel like when you are at her level, like it's okay to phone it in for a novel or two. But that was Crooked House. It was pretty good. Yeah. Okay, then I don't know if this is like totally gonna count, but I read Nemesis, and by read I mean I got to page like 190 out of 250, and I was so bored. I did not like care what was happening, which is a shame because it's a Miss Marple mystery, and I haven't read any of Miss Marple's mysteries. That's nice to say a few times over, but I thought I would like it, and there were things about it that I did really like. I think I like Miss Marple more than I like Poirot, only because I think it's like kind of cool to have like this old woman who's like arthritic be like, oh yes, I'm gonna like solve this like dangerous murder. I don't know, I think there's like charm in that. So I like that, and I liked the setting up of it. I think there was some like interesting setting that was cool. Like it kind of like, this is random, but like part of it is like Miss Marple is taking like a homes and gardens tour of like England, and I just think that's cool. Like we should bring back homes and gardens tours. But anyway, I did not give a damn where this was gonna go. Like I didn't care who murdered the person who was murdered. I'm trying to like not give that much away. I didn't care about the murder. I didn't care if Miss Marple found out who did it or if she didn't. Like I just did not gaff. And that's kind of a shame because I feel like it could have been cool. And I honestly feel like that is kind of like the crux of the issue with reading like too much Agatha Christie in 1 week, which is kind of why I feel like I kind of abandoned this idea halfway through. I think her novels are best consumed like spaced out. Like I don't think it's a good idea to read like 5 Agatha Christie novels in a row because you get what I would coin like Agatha Christie fatigue. Like, you know how there's like museum fatigue when like you're exhausted after like walking around in a museum for 45 minutes? It's like if you read more than one of Agatha Christie's novels like directly after one another, you get like tired. And I think that's because in my experience, for most of the Agatha Christie novels I've read, I'm not ashamed to say like I'm bored for like the first half of it. And then like at the end, like once it gets going, like it gets going and I'm like in it. But for the first part of it, it's like I don't care. So I feel like she has like that first part to like either get you hooked at least a little bit or not. And I feel like this book, Nemesis, unfortunately, I feel like kind of failed. I did look up the ending and to see what happened, and it did seem kind of like gag worthy. So I do plan on finishing this eventually, which is maybe like I've ruined it now that I've looked it up, but I feel like I'll still enjoy reading it. I do want to read other Miss Marple novels. I just think this one was like a weaker one. This was also like a much later Agatha Christie. Like I think it was published in like 1970. So maybe this one she was like really phoning it in and she was like, I just need to like add to my legacy, you know, and put more books in. So I don't know. It was good. I wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend it definitely less than Crooked House. But if you like boring novels and you like Miss Marple, maybe you like Nemesis. I don't know. But that was the last Agatha Christie novel I read this week, in the last week and a half. And then finally, the reason I'm saying Agatha Christie and some other stuff is because I read another novel this week after, or not novel, I read a collection this week after Nemesis, and I was like, I'm done with Agatha Christie for now. I think I'll read another one of her books in like maybe like 4 or 5 books. Maybe. I don't know. I need to finish Nemesis first. But I found this used at a used bookstore, obviously. It was used at a used bookstore. Like Life by Lorrie Moore. It was $5, so I feel like that's a pretty good price. And I loved the cover. I think it's really beautiful. So I was like, I have to get it. And if you haven't heard me talk about it, Lorrie Moore is my favorite author. I think, I want to say like by a long shot. I just like love her work. And I feel like she's incredibly underappreciated. Like not in the literary like community sense maybe. Like I feel like she's well respected in like literary circles. But I feel like on like social media, which is not a good like metric to judge things by, but I feel like on like TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, it's like she's not talked about ever, or maybe like once in a blue moon, you know. But she's like incredible. I think she's like the best short story author ever. Just the way she crafts them is incredible. Anyway, I read Like Life, and it is a short story collection, and it was I think the last short story collection by her that I've had to read, like that I haven't read, and that makes me a little bit sad because they're so good. But this was really, really good. I think it was her, I want to say actually, it was like really good, but I think it was her 3rd best short story collection, which should go to show like how masterful she is. And my favorites in here were probably the 3rd one, Joy. And there's this one scene in that one where this woman is taking her cat to be groomed. I don't think this is like spoiling it. It's just like a very emotionally like resonant moment where she is taking her cat to be groomed. And the same morning she's doing that, she sees another family taking their cat to get like thyroid surgery. And she leaves after that. And when she goes back later in the afternoon to come pick her cat up, the other cat has died on the operating table. And she sees the same family coming in to get their dead cat. And there's this like one moment where the 2 kids of the family whose cat died go over to like play with her cat. And it's so like powerful. And it feels so silly to like say that, but I feel like that is Lorrie Moore's like greatest strength, is taking these like kind of silly, like ridiculous situations, and then all of a sudden you realize like, oh my god, like this is like the way she has like revealed something about human nature, or just the way she's like coaxed emotion out of these like ridiculous, like silly situations is really powerful. And that was probably my favorite story of the collection. But Places to Look for Your Mind is also really good. It follows a student from I think the UK, whose friend says she can stay at her family's house. So he goes and stays at her family's house for a little bit. And there's this another, like this very like heartbreaking, or not heartbreaking, but like there's this very powerful scene, I thought, where the mother of the friend, so the parents of the person who the student is staying with, this is like getting like too like cyclical, she's saying to him like, do you want to go to like, she says like, let's go to the city next week and let's like see a show together. And he's like, okay. And then he leaves the next morning. I hope this isn't like spoiling it. Like I don't think you can like spoil her stories, like they're still good. But it's just like when you read it, it just is so like devastating. And I feel like you need to read it to like get why. It's like her use of language and her use of humor, and she is just like an incredible author. She's my favorite. But yes, definitely recommend Like Life. But if you haven't read any of her other things, I would recommend Self-Help and Birds of America first. But, like life, really good. So that is what I have read this week, and it's been a good week for reading. I feel like I don't normally read this much in a week. Like, I feel like I read kind of slow. Like, I normally read like a book every like 2 weeks, if that. So 3 books, or like 2.75 in the span of like a week and a half was kind of a lot for me, but I enjoyed it. And next, I think I'm going to read Veronica by Mary Gateskill, because I've heard that Mary Gateskill is really good. And she's like a short story writer too, I think, which I really like. But I feel like I want to get into a novel now that I've read some short stories. So I might read Veronica. And I also have some Garth Greenwell books on my shelf that I haven't read, and I also want to get into him. So I might read one of those. But that is what I read this week and what I'm planning on reading next. And I hope this was entertaining, and I hope you like Agatha Christie like maybe a little bit more than I did. So that's all.